Folks, we are back for our annual season preview. These guys get going here in a couple weeks for practices. I know you're doing some individual stuff now, position stuff. We do this every year, Coach, just kind of give the fans previews, try to build the hype and the excitement around the team. Sitting here, obviously, with Clemson's new head coach, Erik Bakich. Coach, talk to us a little bit, I guess, first off, how things are adjusting, what your feel is going into the season.
Well, thanks for having me, Robert. Great to be on the show. It's been awesome in every sense of the word, just creating an environment every day with a group of guys that have totally bought in. We just announced yesterday, I guess by the time this airs, you'll have seen on social media, we did a little skit where we announced to the guys in a funny way that they set the all-time program GPA record. Wow. And not that the academic awards, will translate, but we actually think they do, because we have a part of our shared language is how you do anything is how you do everything. And it just speaks to the buy-in of this group. To set a record like that hopefully is indicative that there's more success to come, and it'll definitely translate on the field. But just from a program standpoint, an environment standpoint, a culture standpoint, very proud of the guys, the way they've competed and the effort they've brought every day with an attitude that just has been very positive and a lot of fun to be around. So excited about what these guys can do, excited to get that punch to the face, because we know adversity is going to come and throughout the season, and we've just worked really hard to equip them with some mental skills to be able to handle that adversity when it does hit, and have a lot of bright spots throughout the season.
All right, Coach. Obviously, we got some new folks on the coaches staff, yourself included, obviously. Also have some new players. Recruiting class coming in. You brought in some transfers with you from Michigan, and added some additional pieces. Talk to us about some of the new faces that Clemson fans are going to see for the first time.
Sure. Well, Willie Weiss and Riley Bertram coming from Michigan have been a great conduit between the players and the coaches, just maybe some of the explanation of why we do what we do, how we train the way we train, and the reasoning behind it. So those guys have been instrumental in that regard. So obviously as older guys, we didn't bring them in to not have some type of impact. So, the folks will see Riley Bertram out there somewhere in the infield and Willie Weiss pitching somewhere in relief in a high-leverage situation. So those two guys certainly stand out, as do a lot of the freshman class. Feels like is a loaded class. And you got guys that have really made an impact just in the fall, inserting themselves, into the team. Now, it's an older team, so it's going to be difficult for some of those freshman guys to just jump out there right away and maybe start or earn a starting job. But there's some guys that are certainly in contention for it. Cam Canarella leads probably that charge of freshmen who had a very successful fall campaign. He was one of the leaders on our team in offense, so it's just the fall, though. It's just a snapshot, but he did well, and in the outfield, guys like Nate Hall, Jack Crichton, Leighton Lackey certainly were very impressive in some of the looks that we had of them, and then in the infield with Cam Canarella, Nolan Naraki, Jack Reynolds, Jay Dillard, doing very well at the catcher position. Jacob Jarrell showed a lot of promise. Hogan Garner's got a very strong arm. And then from a pitching side, Tristan Smith was probably the most highly touted freshman of the whole class coming in, and he was extremely impressive on the pitching side of things, as was Joe Allen and Nathan Dvorsky and Ethan Darden. And so there's I'm probably leaving some guys out, but it's a very talented freshman class, guys that are going to be the future stars of Clemson baseball. So excited to see these guys work their way in this season and make an impact. Not sure if they'll be able to, how many opening day starters we'll have out of that freshman class, but there's certainly the future starters of this program and future stars of this program.
All right, last question for this segment, Coach. You mentioned roster. You've got the COVID stuff. You've got an unusual roster with the number of players. You got some guys that decided to return and use that extra year. How do you manage that type of roster?
Well, it just speaks to, college sports right now is an older version of itself, and there's no exception in college baseball. It's been very difficult for young guys to insert themselves into a starting lineup right away, just with the transfer portal now open, with the extra year of eligibility has created this whole new world of grad transfers that, you used to have a grad transfer if a guy redshirted a year and had that extra year of eligibility. And now everyone the last few years has that extra year, and it'll go on until next year as well, until the 24 season. Anyone who is a freshman in 2020 gets that extra year. So I personally like grad transfers over the regular transfer, just because the grad transfer, he's older, he's been around, he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's obviously a grad transfer for a reason, he didn't get drafted, and it's their last shot at a winner. And so they usually come into a program fully bought in and ready to compete and want the team to do well. So we brought in 2 grad transfers this year. We had a couple last year that everybody saw with Ben Blackwell and Tyler Corbett, and they made an immediate impact. So we may have more in the future, but it's created an environment for college athletics and specifically baseball to have an older roster and a lot of experience. And it's made for some fun, exciting baseball with some older kids out there for sure.
Well, we've enjoyed having Tyler and Chad do the victory lap with us and share some of the things about their last year here at Clemson. All right, Coach, that's it for the first segment.